Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are diving into an incredibly emotional and honestly deeply rewarding journey. We're going to break down the real-life story of adopting a rescue dog. It's a narrative completely packed with unexpected timing, intense medical and psychological struggles, and ultimately, a really profound transformation. If you've ever wondered what it actually takes to bring a traumatized animal into your home and help them heal, well, this story maps out every single agonizing and beautiful step.
Meet Dulce, or as she's affectionately known, Dulce. She is currently a proud resident of Bogotá, Colombia, celebrating her birthday. Now, because she was a street dog, her actual birth date is a total mystery. So her family just decided, hey, let's celebrate Adoption Day as her official birthday. Fast forward to today, she's 5 years old and has been with her new family for 2 years. But getting to this peaceful, joyful moment overlooking the city, yeah, that was anything but easy. It was a wild, completely unpredictable ride.
Okay, let's dive into this. The owners framed their whole experience with a pretty powerful quote. They didn't just train a dog, they tamed a dragon. Turning a chaotic, traumatized shelter dog into the ideal companion is a monumental task. It absolutely tests your limits as a human being, forcing you to completely rethink patience and animal psychology. The owner says she will literally tell this story until she dies, because the journey of taming this metaphorical dragon was just that intense.
Part 1. Sign from the Universe. Let's look at how this incredibly serendipitous journey actually started.
So, the owners had finally decided to put down roots in a brand new, totally empty apartment after traveling all over South America for a year and a half. We're talking sleeping on flattened cardboard boxes and an air mattress kind of empty. They sat down, had a very firm conversation, and agreed, yes, we definitely want a dog when we settle down, but absolutely not right now. They figured, they'd wait at least 6 months until they had actual real furniture. They felt completely unready for the massive responsibility of a pet.
But the sheer serendipity of what happened next is just mind-blowing. They went to their favorite park for coffee, and Yenya, one of the owners, points to a dog at a neighboring table and says, "I want a dog exactly like that. That is my ideal dog." He was nudged to go ask the owners where they got the puppy, but he brushed it off, reminding himself, nope, we aren't ready. Well, literally 15 minutes later, walking home, they stop at a red light near an intersection. On the opposite side of the road, a local shelter is running a weekend adoption drive, and standing right there is the exact same type of dog he had just pointed out in the cafe. It was absurd. It was like Yenya had just placed an order with the universe, and boom, it instantly delivered her right to his street corner. Despite petting her and realizing just how sweet she was, they walked away. They had no place to sleep and zero money budgeted for a dog.
But, the universe has a funny way of wearing down our logical barriers. Phase 2, the agonizing adoption.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how fast their logical resistance completely collapsed. May 9th was the day they saw her at the intersection and walked away. Just a little over a week later, they went back to the shelter spot, walked her, and still tried to say no. But by the morning of the 19th, they totally caved. By May 20th, they had already bought a dog bed, and finally May 25th officially became Adoption Day.
But man, that gap between deciding to adopt and actually picking her up, pure agony. Janya was completely stressed out, just waiting on that empty dog bed. The shelter owner had gone totally off the grid, stopped communicating for 3 whole days before the pickup. The couple was in an absolute panic, terrified that she'd been given to someone else, or honestly, worse, that she had died. Finally, on the morning of May 25th, they showed up at the shelter. The owner apologized profusely. Turns out he had simply lost his phone and all his contacts, and they victoriously brought Dulce home. But that victory lap, yeah, it was pretty short-lived. Section 3, surviving the first night.
All that magic of the universe completely vanished the second they walked through the front door. The poor dog arrived absolutely covered in fleas, dirty, smelling awful, and in complete shock about her new reality. You can't exactly drag a highly stressed dog to the vet or a groomer on day 1, so they just had to wait it out. That entire first night, Dulce howled and yelled relentlessly because the flea bites were so severe. Yet, amazingly, amidst all of this chaos, when they told her the bedroom was off limits, she respected that boundary right away. In fact, she wouldn't step foot into that bedroom for an entire year.
So the crucial point is, the fleas and the howling were really just the surface level of her trauma. A staggering statistic to wrap your head around is 50 to 90%. That is the mortality rate for a horrific viral disease called nervous distemper, which fiercely attacks a dog's nervous system.
And, as her new owners would very soon discover, Dulce had somehow contracted this highly fatal disease while living on the streets, and she survived it entirely on her own before they ever even crossed paths.
But surviving an illness that brutal leaves a permanent physical mark. For Dulce, it's a lingering nervous tic in her jaw and her paw. It's something she just carries with her every single day. When she's relaxed at home, the tic is barely noticeable, but whenever she gets stressed or anxious, the tic intensifies significantly. Learning this instantly raised the emotional stakes for her owners. They realized they weren't just caring for a stray dog, they were caring for a medical miracle, carrying some really deep hidden trauma.
And that fragile health was about to be tested all over again. Trial 4, the Great Food Strike.
So, fast forward to August, Dulce had to undergo surgery to remove a potentially dangerous tumor from her ear. This, of course, meant wearing the dreaded cone of shame. The surgery itself went great, but the real nightmare started during her recovery. Being a super-intelligent border collie mix, Dulce figured out how to manipulate her owners out of sheer anxiety. She basically started using food as a weapon and absolutely refused to eat.
The situation escalated fast, leading to some truly desperate measures. The vet confirmed there was absolutely nothing physically wrong with her stomach. This was pure behavioral manipulation fueled by the stress of recovering. The doctor literally told them, shove food in her, do whatever you have to do, but she must eat. So they started boiling chicken broth. They even resorted to holding her and force-feeding the broth down her throat with a massive syringe just to make sure her stomach could handle the heavy course of antibiotics. But the very second those antibiotics ended and they stopped forcing her, total, complete food refusal. Even a hired animal behaviorist was completely baffled and had no idea how to fix it.
The physical toll of this strike was just devastating. Her weight plummeted down to a skeletal 11 kilograms. Just to put that into perspective, her normal healthy weight is around 20 kilograms. She lost nearly half her body weight. The emotional toll on the owners was unbearable. They were broken. They genuinely thought she was consciously choosing to die and that they were totally powerless to stop her from wasting away.
But then came a massive turning point, Xenia's genius breakthrough. Instead of continuing with the doctor's forceful advice, Xenia reached out to his sister, who happens to work professionally as an animal specialist. By combining her expert advice with his own really deep understanding of his dog, Xenia realized that healing this kind of trauma required immense patience, not force. He devised a completely non-forceful psychological approach to essentially bring her back to life. Now, while the exact mechanics of his method remain a bit of a family secret, the results were literally miraculous. He broke through her anxiety, she finally started eating normally on her own again, and that terrifying behavioral problem, it never came back.
She regained her strength, which was definitely a good thing for our next chapter. Section 5. The Final Trial.
Sometime later, Dulce suffered a severe broken leg. But when you contrast this injury with the previous tumor strike, the difference is night and day. This time around, there was absolutely zero manipulation. She had grown so much. Her psyche had completely stabilized. She bravely took all her pills, recovered flawlessly, ate her food without a single complaint, and basically acted like an absolute hero through the entire grueling healing process.
And to know, her bravery really spilled out into the streets. Chapter 6. Our Neighborhood Hero.
This dog, who was once a dirty, howling shelter stray, had quietly become famous. When she broke her leg, her owners only told a few close friends. But the very next day, when they went to grab coffee in their neighborhood, the cafe owner panicked, asking, "Wait, where is Dulce?" When she heard the news, she almost cried. The story spread like wildfire. By that evening, the entire district knew. For a whole month, random witnesses, other dog walkers they'd never even formally spoken to, and complete strangers on the street were constantly checking in on the famous Dulce's recovery. The entire neighborhood rallied behind her, which just goes to show how much light she brought to the community.
It's just a stunning transformation, right? From a terrified, sick stray sleeping on the streets to a beloved, proud community staple. And it leaves us with something pretty profound to consider as we wrap up this explainer. What hidden resilience lies waiting to be uncovered in every shelter animal? I mean, if a complicated dragon like Dulce can be tamed with patience, fierce dedication, and a whole lot of love, what untapped strength and loyalty is resting dormant in the cages of your local shelter right now? Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope this sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to look differently at the rescue animals waiting for their own serendipitous moment.